Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the LEAFline Plorm. My name is Blorna Clorna, and I'm sitting across from Blorin Sklorn Rolslorn.
Please don't adjust your settings. You are actually listening to the podcast. Ben just no longer knows how to speak. So welcome into LEAFline. Glad you're here. Ben Aquina across the way, 6 miles away, socially distanced. Brian the Ralston here as well. Thank you for joining us, and welcome back to our lovely podcast. We're glad you're here.
Well, we have very little in common. Brian cannot see, and he has an amazing dog. I can see marginally well, except for color, and I have an awful dog. But one thing we have in common is that we love emails. So if you have things to say to us, please write to centenary1911@gmail.com. Can I get an update? Updates. I love a good update.
We have some good updates.
So, sort of. I will say before we get into this even that this episode, we don't actually know right now in this moment whether this episode will be average length or short or long today, because I have to report for jury duty. I have to call them in 30 minutes to find out if I have to go into the courthouse. So this may be an abbreviated episode today. And now you know why.
So know that I'm praying that he doesn't have to go in, because I want to do a full podcast, but I also don't want Ben to leave because I miss him so much. But also I don't want him to be tortured by jury duty today. So anyway, that's the first update. Other updates is,
I think the TGIF audience also doesn't want me to do jury.
Oh, that would be bad too. Yeah, that'd be really bad. Things are continuing. We had some in-person opportunities recently. The fall festival, Halloween, carnival, walkthrough, whatever you want to call it. It was great. We had tons of people. Ben worked a booth, and Pastor Tim and Gina passed out a ton of candy. And I don't know, we had 260 some people.
Yeah, a lot of guests from the community. They waited in line an extraordinary amount of time and had tremendous attitudes, were very appreciative, and I'm really hoping that we could parlay that into getting them interested in further engagement in Centenary Church.
So we did get contact information. We are appreciative of all those who helped, all those who contributed candy, all those who prayed. Please continue to pray that God would
But you don't have to donate candy anymore.
No more candy, please. Please, no more candy. So thank you for all that. And in-person worship was really good on Sunday as well. I got to sing for the first time in a long time as part of a worship service at Centenary, so that was fun. But we're, at this point, going to have in-person worship this coming Sunday, but stay tuned for further details. Remember, 9 o'clock inside the sanctuary, 10:30 is on the lawn. We're having some worship outside, and then at 11 a.m., Fellowship Center, family service. That's family of all ages, church family. Please attend.
If you come to the worship portion at 10:30, we recommend that you bring a folding chair of some kind or a blanket if you'd rather sit on that. But we're going to be out there a little bit. It's good to have something to sit on. And I do have an announcement that was sent in
from loyal listener Carrie Sampson.
Yes.
Loyal listeners Carrie Sampson.
Here's the headline. Giving just got easier. Centenary Church is upgrading its online giving platform. The new platform, called PushPay, will make online giving easier. The official rollout will be this Sunday, November 8th, but you don't have to wait until then to get started. Even right now, Brian.
Right now.
You can visit the Centenary website giving page at centenarychurch.net/giving, link in the description below, and click on one of the Make a Gift buttons, or you can simply text the keyword MyCentenary with no spaces to 77977 to give to the general fund.
What's that number again, Ben?
77977.
Text MyCentenary to donate that way.
If you want to leave a gift for one of our outreach ministries instead of the general fund, you can text the keyword Centenary Missions with no spaces to 77977. Same number, different code word. At that point, you'll be prompted to set up a new account, and then you can leave a one-time gift or set up a recurring gift. If you have questions, just call the church office, 209-527-5441, or email centenary@centenarychurch.net. You will love the new platform. It will make supporting our church's mission so much easier. By the way, listeners, if you missed any of that, don't rewind and try to take notes. Every bit of info I just mentioned is available on Centenary's giving page, centenarychurch.net/giving. I'll put the link to that in the description below this video so you can save your ink.
So that comes from our finance team. Carrie Sampson is a member of that finance team doing amazing work. Ed Haven, Carrie Sampson, and Marlene Urban, and led by the capable and amazing Carrie Swanson, along with Melanie in the church office. That group is doing amazing work to help us with stewardship and to get our financial giving a little bit easier in the midst of this difficult time. We appreciate your support and your ongoing support of God's work here at Centenary. So keep it up, and if you want to check into this new way of giving, it really will help tremendously. So check it out. Thank you.
Recommendations, give it a try.
We did not do a recommendation segment last week. One listener did notice, but
Thank you for noticing.
Yes, thank you. We've got a recommendation section this week.
Ben, go.
So my wife and I last week watched The Princess Bride, and it would feel very ridiculous to make that as a recommendation. That's kind of like recommending that air is a good thing to breathe.
Some may not have watched it. Who knows?
It's possible. If you have not watched The Princess Bride, you need to move out of your Amish community.
Yes.
And
get out
watch
from underneath
that film.
your rock and go watch Princess Bride. It's really quite amusing and enjoyable, and is.
And you should try this amazing new sandwich called peanut butter and jelly while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly. It's delicious.
Genuine apologies to anybody that hasn't actually seen it. I'm really sorry for insulting you.
I'm not. He is.
So, in homage to the great late Sean Connery, my wife a few days ago said, we haven't watched The Hunt for Red October in a little while. And so we've been watching through that the last few nights. Brian, do you remember this film?
I do.
I love this film. He is the least convincing Russian I've ever seen.
Yes, terrible Russian. But
it's such a delightful movie. There's these giant behemoth submarines passing slowly through the water, and they make it so tense and riveting. It's very exciting. It's extraordinarily well written and structured too, just as a film geek. I'm loving the sequence in which they reveal information at key moments so that you don't feel like you're having to learn a lot about submarines before you can enjoy the movie. It's so well done.
It is very well done, and as one who read the book, the Tom Clancy book that it's based on, of course, because I always read the books, before the movies, of course. The movies that were made of Tom Clancy books mostly are terrible. That one is amazing, and that's about the only one that is really, really good. The book was astoundingly good. The movie was equally, in different ways, but it was equally good.
Wait, you don't like Clear and Present Danger?
No, terrible.
Wow.
Well, because I read the book first. That's the problem.
Okay.
If you read the books, especially, most times.
In that case, I don't recommend you read the books.
Yeah, my wife has a rule about such things. If you really love the book, don't watch the movie, because they often can't duplicate, and they don't even try sometimes. So
one of these days, if we can find a way to shoehorn some sort of spiritual content into this kind of a discussion, we should have a main topic just about book versus movie adaptations.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd be down with that.
Could be a main topic.
We just have to figure out how to make it Jesus.
Did Jesus watch movies? I don't remember. So
I don't know.
If you know that question, email us at set. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I have a give it a try, but would you like to tell us what you're reading and watching first?
Sure. He hesitates. My wife and I were laughing at ourselves this week because at one point we realized we were both walking around with headphones, listening to things, and it's just the two of us in our home. We don't have, a herd of children, and we don't have any other. But for some reason, we both were enjoying for a couple days just listening to our own books and our own music with headphones on. So our house was incredibly quiet. So we must be really good neighbors. But I have been really enjoying a lot of older music. And I laugh about that because
some good Gregorian
I
chant.
am old, and so I'm just going to say that. What I've enjoyed doing is kind of reconnecting to a time in my life when things were simpler, and it was the early 80s, and Hall & Oates were popular, and movies like Footloose and Flashdance and simple times where I could just listen to music and not have to... And so I've really been enjoying that. So older music, as in early 80s music, which I know is not always high quality, but I enjoyed it. And I also have been listening to older books that, I don't know why, but some old Jeffrey Deaver. If you've never heard of Jeffrey Deaver, he's a suspense writer that his early books are just great. And he's a guy that wrote the Lincoln Rhyme series that has been turned into some movies. Look at that connection back to movies. And I've listened to a few of those recently as well, and they've been really enjoyable. And then my vitamin books, I have been listening to some books by Richard Foster. He's a pastor or theologian dude that wrote a great book on prayer that I've reread now a couple times, and also a book on the spiritual disciplines. So those have been the two books I've reread recently that have been good for me kind of books. So that's what I've been listening to. Kathy and I have not been watching anything, so I can't recommend or even say that we've been watching movies or TV shows.
You've just been ignoring each other.
We've been ignoring each other. Yeah, we've been just roaming our house in our separate books and separate podcasts and separate music. And I don't know why, but we just have been talking while we eat and talking while we hang out instead of watching a movie, or I don't know. So we're just in that phase right now. So yeah, I haven't watched anything or listened to anything TV movie wise. So nothing on that front.
Okay, so yeah, I do have my give it a try for the week, and that is Moneyball. It is a film that came out, I think, in 2011, maybe. featuring Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. And what's the blonde, chubby guy? Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, that guy. He passed away.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did. And it's a really delightful movie. It's rated PG-13 largely for language. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, if you don't want to be surprised by language, but you're interested in trying out this movie, you could look up the parent guide on IMDb for Moneyball, and it'll tell you exactly how many of each kind of word is in the movie. But it's PG-13. It's a really delightful... Brian, are you familiar with the... I think it's the 2001 Oakland A's?
Oakland A's, yeah.
And it's just this really fascinating thing about the Oakland A's is one of the poorer teams in baseball, and they realized they couldn't compete against the Yankees and the Red Sox by just throwing money at the biggest name players. And so the general manager found this guy that had statistically broken down everybody in the league and figured out how to hire them for low cost according to strengths that most people undervalued. It's just a really, really interesting thing.
It is a cool movie.
We have a listener, Mr. Jeffrey Jacobs, who is, I believe he referred to himself as the one A's fan in Modesto. But Jeff, I'd love your insight if you want to send me an email on whether there's any accuracy in this movie or not. Because I don't like baseball. I don't like sports in general. I found this movie really riveting and enjoyable.
Interruption.
I forgot to mention, Moneyball's on Netflix, so if you got Netflix, it costs you nothing to watch it. Give it a try. Why not?
Back to the show.
So, yeah,
Yay.
Moneyball.
Give it a try.
Yeah, I hope you do.
Raise a glass to times past.
Raise a glass. Brian, it is time to pay tribute to some people that we appreciate or things that we miss. Do you have a raise a glass for the day, or would you like me to go first?
You go first. I'm polite like that, you know.
Oh, you're so polite. Gosh. My raise a glass today is to a great saint of our church that we've lost, I think it was almost a year ago, Miss Karen Curl. We did not lose her in the pandemic. We just lost her. And she was just such a fixture of the Centenary community. She was so involved in so many different areas. She meant so much to so many different people here. She was relationally plugged in, and she was serving on committees all the time, and just a woman that was very preoccupied with the strength of God's kingdom and strengthening God's kingdom on earth. For me specifically, about a year ago, I was going through the most brutal, torturous trials in my life to this point. It was probably the lowest point in my existence in my life. She was instrumental in providing some real practical help at a time when I desperately needed it. And that was just her interaction with me. She's had so many other interactions like that where she's been really pivotal and key in a lot of people's lives. And I miss her being at Centenary Church. Those who knew her know that she had a gigantic smile, and I miss seeing it around. So,
yeah, she was a woman that really had been through some difficult times in her life and had found the grace of God in the midst of those times, just had a joy of the Lord about her and shared that on a regular basis in many, many ways. And so she was a special person to many of us here. And so, yeah, I will join you in that because I miss her very much as well. So raise a glass to dear departed saint, and hope she's enjoying her eternity in heaven, and we're thankful for her, and raise a glass.
Raise a glass.
Mine is not quite as sad as that, but
we need to pick this up.
Wow, yeah, this is another reason we don't talk ahead of time, is we like to clobber each other with emotion and sadness sometimes.
Yeah.
But now
that I kicked Brian in the gut, he can try to be
seriously,
amusing.
dude, whatever. Don't even warn me. That's fine. I don't mind. I would like to raise a glass to ministries at Centenary that I miss. I miss the thrift shop being open. Thankful for those women that have, and men, some men have helped over the years. The thrift shop has been a part of Centenary for decades and decades and decades, and has contributed a lot of money to missions and to the church in general. And so they helped pay off the fellowship center many moons ago, back in the 1980s. And so I miss the thrift shop ladies more than I miss their actual work, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know if it's coming back or not. I don't know anything about that.
And that was just a fixture of Tuesdays at Centenary. You'd see all the tables out and
partially because it was right outside my window, and some of them every once in a while would come to my office window as if it was like a walk-up window at a restaurant,
like a customer service.
They would just talk to me through the window, and I used to really enjoy that. Yeah, thankfully they never asked for fries or milkshakes or anything, because I couldn't have helped them with that. But I
need to return these pants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thankfully they never did that. But raise a glass to the thrift shop women and thrift shop ministry. And we hope it comes back. We don't know at this point.
Yeah, it took a pandemic to close that store.
Yeah, exactly. These women have carried it for decades in faithful service and have provided an opportunity for the community as well every Tuesday morning. So we're thankful for them, and we miss them. Raise a glass.
Here, here, clink, clink. I don't know why I just held up my hand. As if I'm holding a glass.
I don't know, but I'm amused by that.
Onto the category of trivia.
Trivia.
Last week's question was science. And here's the question. Despite looking, feeling, and functioning very different from each other, human hair and human fingernails are actually composed of the same fibrous structural protein. What is it called? Hint, of all the fibrous structural proteins, Bugs Bunny probably likes this one best. Brian, you knew this when I asked it last week.
I did. Keratin, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But I'm greatly amused because y'all are such, intelligent, amazing, educated folks that you got that answer, and nobody got the Jetsons question from the week earlier. So what's up with that?
We let that question ride for 2 weeks and got zero answers, but Carrie Sampson knows what keratin is. Bob Uziak, he normally writes in on Joyce's behalf, but Bob knew this one. Bob Uziak knew it. Randall Robinson, our resident scientist, knew it. And Kathy Boyd emailed in yesterday, and she knew it as well. So kudos to all four of you for knowing what keratin is, because I had to look it up because I'd forgotten. I thought it was chitin, but that's crab shells.
And not to mention those of you who knew it but didn't take the time to email in. Why not email us when you know these things? Email us when you don't know these things, because we enjoy hearing from you. So
I made the mistake of underestimating our listening audience, and I paid the price for it.
That's my nagging. Yeah.
And on to our question for this week. Brian's got one for us today.
So it's a Bible question because, hey, I like to do that. There are nicknames used in Scripture. Not only are names important, but nicknames. Jesus' disciples, they have, several of them have nicknames. The brothers James and John, not only what is their nickname, but what does it mean? Because it's kind of amusing to me, and it always makes me laugh when I come across it in Scripture. So what is the nickname of the sons James and John, the brothers James and John? What's their nickname? And I almost gave it away because I'm not good at this. Ben's the one who asked the questions, not Brian. So what's the nickname? What does it mean in translation? And why does it amuse me so much? Those are your questions. Answer them. Email us. Thank you.
Story time, 'cause the lockdown is boring.
All right, story time. Because Brian hijacks the story time once again. And so Brian's story this time is involving a pastor appreciation gift I got many, many years ago. So I'm going to start with that as the caveat. But it's a very odd gift if you're not Brian. Because the volunteer that gave me this gift, Robbie Cummins and her husband Dennis, Robbie and Dennis decided to give me a Maxwell House coffee can full of change, as in coins, pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, and 50-cent pieces as well. And that was the gift. And y'all were sitting there thinking, that's kind of odd. I mean, money, I guess, is good, but why would they give you a big can of coins? For me, that was an amazing gift because I had told Robbie an earlier story when I was a child. That was one of the things I got to do with my dad, was I got to take his cans of change and he would essentially let me sort them and stack them and put them in the wrappers, and then I would get to go with them to the bank and I would get money from that transaction. Not the full amount because my dad is cheap and would not give me the full amount, but he would give me a percentage. He would essentially give me a fee for my efforts. And I used to love that. And I found it very relaxing and very soothing almost to sort coins and put them in. Yes, I know there's machines that do that nowadays, but I never wanted to do that. So I told that story to Robbie. She remembered that story. And for whatever reason, she and Dennis talked and they decided Dennis was one who threw his change into coffee cans. And then when the coffee can was full, he threw it in a closet for that someday when you'll have enough time to deal with that. And that's what they decided to give me. And so Robbie carries in this gift bag, and it was nicely presented in a gift bag with tissue paper and all that. And it was heavy. And I remember thinking, what the heck is she giving me? And as she thumped it down on the desk, and she just started laughing, and she goes, I can only give this to you. No one else would find this to be a good gift. But she basically said, I really appreciate you. You encouraged me. And as I opened the gift, I just started laughing because it was literally a bunch of dirty change in an old Maxwell House coffee can with the lid on. And I was just so happy. Now, the problem I had is I had to get it home. I had to walk home to my townhouse at the time. And
with that in your backpack.
Yes, with that in my backpack that weighed a ton.
Kashuka.
And while I had a great time later sorting those coins and all those coins, it ended up being some decent money. But, I mean, it wasn't the money that made it a gift. It was the fact that she remembered, she knew me, she remembered something about me, and she gave me something that would be a delight to me, even though nobody else would think that would be delightful. And so I really appreciated that. I really appreciated that gift of appreciation. And it just made it special that she had thought of me in that way. And it was so tailored for me personally. And so while a gift card would have been lovely and, something, a gift certificate for a restaurant would have been great, the fact that she went to another level of personalizing the gift for me was even more meaningful, and it's obviously stuck with me for many years. And it was such a hit that she did it a few more times over the years at Christmas or my birthday or whatever. So it was just so much fun. So that to say, that's my story.
Main topic.
So I have to, as we start recording this main topic, I have to make a phone call to find out if I have to go to the courthouse, and I have to do that in 15 minutes. So we have not put a lot of effort into choosing our main topic today, but it's still something we think is important. But it's going to be a little bit more off the cuff today than usual. Today we are going to talk about appreciation, and we don't really have much of a plan for this. So this should be interesting.
Yeah. So my thoughts were, we just came out of what is October, and Pastor Appreciation is always mentioned in October, and I love it. Thank you very much for those who sent cards, and I thank you for your appreciation of Pastor Tim and me as well. But I always want to continue it into November and make it congregation appreciation, volunteer appreciation, you all appreciation, because I think staff appreciation even. I think encouragement and appreciation is such an important reality and much needed and desperately needed during these times especially. And I think far too often we just kind of don't do it because we don't think about it. We don't prioritize it. We don't, while we appreciate people and we are wanting to encourage them, we don't take the next step to actually do that, to intentionally send an email, send a card. It's not about the gifts. I mean, the gifts are nice, don't get me wrong. I like the gifts, but it's not about the gifts. It's about the actual intentional effort to appreciate and encourage someone else, and it's huge. And sometimes I think we undervalue that. We think, well, that person probably doesn't need it, or here's a lot of it, or whatever, and we kind of assume that it's not needed. And I got to tell you, it is much needed and much valued when it does happen. So Ben and I recently have been experiencing some blessings from encouragement. Ben's going to mention that first, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, we got an email from a listener yesterday just saying that she really appreciated the main topic that we had last week, and she wasn't super florid in her praise. She didn't write us a novel. She didn't send us a gift card. It was just this mention of, you did this and I appreciated it. And it made my afternoon. It was such a simple email, and maybe, I put too much stock in simple things, but that small act of appreciation was massive. A few weeks ago, congregants sent me a card, and it wasn't even about the podcast. It was about my video editing on TGIF mostly. And just these little tiny things. And it just got me thinking about how, do I do this enough for the people in my life? And I guess I would extend this challenge outward to the congregation. I think it's great to appreciate pastors and leaders in ministry, but I think it's a tremendous witness in general to just be an appreciative person for the people in your life that you are grateful for what they do. How many of them actually know about it? What if a person's satisfaction in what they were doing rested entirely on whether or not they heard about it from you? Would they know?
Yeah, so it starts first with thankfulness, you choosing to be thankful. That's a huge step to take. And in November, we focus on thankfulness because of Thanksgiving, but I think it's an important thing year-round. First, to stop your craziness, stop your role, and get your eyes off your struggles and your problems and the world around you sometimes, and just be thankful. The old concept of counting your blessings. And that's step one. Step one is to be thankful. And then step two is, as you're going through your list of blessings and being thankful, you're going to come across people. Sometimes loved ones, family, neighbors, sometimes distant friends, whatever. God will bring people to your mind. Take the next step, the third step, to intentionally appreciate and encourage those folks. And maybe it's just a an email, a card, a phone call, or maybe you do something that is a special gift for them, or you make something for them, or whatever. But the reality is, make sure you take that final step, that intentional step, because you never know how huge that's going to be. And it creates a currency of love and appreciation that I think is much needed all the time, but especially during this year that is so difficult for so many. Never in my lifetime have I been through something where everyone around me is struggling, including me. All of us are struggling in some way, shape, or form. We've all lost something. We're all grieving this new reality. We're missing the old reality. The new normal is very difficult, and many have lost significant other things like security financially, or jobs, or whatever, peace in their homes, or going to church and singing out of a hymnal, or whatever. We're all grieving. We've all lost. So what a better time to be thankful, to get your eyes off the problems and off the circumstances and off the craziness around you. So choose to be thankful. Then as you are being thankful, appreciate those people that God brings to mind, and then take the intentional step to do something tangible. Like I said, be it a text, an email, a gift, whatever, a card, it will mean a lot. And I think it's also just sowing seeds and sowing good seeds of thankfulness and appreciation, encouragement, and love. And it ultimately does come down to love. And I think that's what is a tangible way to show love in a way that is very much needed during these times. And whether you hear back from the person or not, that's not what it's about. It's not about getting something back. It's about doing something selfless to appreciate someone, to encourage someone, and just casting out a good seed and trusting the Lord to use it and to put it to work and to grow something. I think that's so important.
And it's just a valuable lesson to turn on your life in general. One of the things that I loved that I heard from Steve Collins, our former student ministry director here, was, what if all you had to live on tomorrow was what you thanked God for today? I think that kind of mindfulness can be very valuable for us in general, and to turn that lens towards gratitude towards God in addition to gratitude towards people. And if we were really mindful of that, would that affect our motivations in life? Would that affect our satisfaction in life too?
Yeah, and just to sort of be mindful that others will value your efforts, whatever that may be, to appreciate or encourage. And it can be a huge step for you to put your thankfulness into a practical form, if that makes sense, to let something flow out of that thankfulness. And I think it can also cause a deepening of the thankfulness when you put it into words and are grateful in a tangible way for someone, an appreciation way. It can actually deepen your own thankfulness. And it's fun. That's part of what I have enjoyed over the years, is when I've made an effort to appreciate someone else and do something sometimes creative, it can be a lot of fun, and I start enjoying it in ways that I didn't expect. And so I'm doing something for someone else, yes, but I'm also really getting a benefit of enjoyment out of it. And it's just fun sometimes, be it I'm creating something, or I'm writing something, or I'm crafting something, whatever. It's just fun sometimes. And so take a delight in that, and know that I think it pleases God when we do that as well, because we're putting others first, we're being thankful for the blessings that we have, and we're doing something to show love, to demonstrate love. And as Jesus said, you will know, they will know you are my followers by your love. And that's a huge part of it. And seldom is heard an encouraging word, to quote a famous song from a long time ago. So in this negative time, in this negative era that we seem to be in right now, you being positive and you being appreciative and thanking someone and appreciating someone could make a huge difference to a situation, to a person's struggles, to a person's life. So it's not just being polite and being civil and being respectful. It can go beyond that and be appreciative.
It could be life-giving.
Yeah, it really is. And so I think as one who regularly teaches and preaches, back in the day when we had live worship and live events, and Ben can experience this too, people come up to you after a service and they say very kind things, and we appreciate that. But there's something even more significant when they take the time out of their schedules, out of their crazy lives, to email the next day or 2 days later, or they'll see you on campus or somewhere 3 days later. And just the simple words that they say mean so much, because they're making a big effort that is costing them a little bit, even if it's time and focus, where it adds to it in so many ways. So I wanted to mention, Ben does too, a couple people around that are helping us right now during this crazy pandemic times. We have volunteers that are back helping around the church, and we really appreciate their work and their efforts. And so I think the staff appreciates them, but also you all may need to know that there is still committees meeting and trustees working and people working on the property. Jeff Wolfswinkle, Norm Boos, and so many others from the trustees are still doing things around here to keep
devoting a lot of effort and in some cases a lot of physical labor to keeping things working.
Yeah, the teams that pull off these live events that are running the temperature checks and trying to help folks as they come on campus. We appreciate all of those volunteers who are serving in those roles.
And I do specifically want to mention the finance team. I don't remember if we mentioned them in this discussion yet, but those folks have put in so much time and effort to so that the giving platform is changing, as we announced earlier, but that's part of a much bigger project that they're working on, and they're just expending a ton of mental effort on that, and in some cases a lot of like professional effort. Like we've got some really qualified people on that finance team that are, you know, really good in their own career fields, and they're devoting a lot of that effort for free to keeping our church running, and it's just tremendous to me.
So that finance team, led by Carrie Swanson and consisting of Carrie Sampson and Ed Haven and Marlene Urban, and then Sue Sitton has been so faithful as a leader of our money counters. She's now being trained in some of the aspects that the finance team is doing, and Amy Childs is kind of stepping in to help as well. That group has been amazing, and so we appreciate them very much. And so, yeah, we need to continue to honor them. And then all the women of Spirit Salon that are somehow carrying out Zoom right now. Ro and Donna Darnell are helping coordinate all the Zoom efforts, and all those women in Spirit Salon who have shifted from meeting in person, like they had done for longer than I've been alive, to meeting virtually and meeting on Zoom. And just the effort that that's taken, it's been so amazing that they've been able to pull that off. So we're appreciative of all those volunteers who are serving a life of the church behind the scenes, and you may not even know their names, but we're thankful for them.
And as we wrap up this discussion, I'd like to encourage you to look for the people to appreciate that don't normally get appreciation. I would actually recommend don't turn this toward Brian or myself, maybe not even Pastor Tim, because in our line of work, we get a lot of appreciation, and we love it, and we're grateful for it, but there's a ton of people in various lines of work that don't ever receive that kind of attention. And I'd love for you to sort of expend that extra mental effort and think about who in your life could really use some of that. Whether it's just a friendly bagger at your grocery store that you always notice, you know, the way they just lighten your day a little bit. I don't know. That's super cheesy what I'm saying.
Yeah, but look around your life and pray about it and see who the Holy Spirit brings to mind. And it might be a medical professional who's in this time of stress, really in a difficult stretch, or a teacher in a public school or private school that's going through a difficult time. It might be somebody
who had an impact on your life 10 years ago that you don't keep in touch with, but you appreciate what they've done.
So you definitely look at the church family, and maybe there's somebody in the church family, but look beyond the church family as well.
Indeed.
And just send a card, an email, a text, or just give them a little card of appreciation when you see them next time, or whatever it is. But just make that intentional effort. Pray about it. Ask God to lead you to someone. Be thankful, first of all, then pray and ask God to reveal. And then take that step of being intentional about it. And I think you'll find not only will you be blessed by this, but you'll be a blessing. And there's something special about that, of knowing that you helped someone else's day be a touch brighter than it was before. So we thank you for all that you're doing, and we ask you to continue to trust the Lord, and one step at a time, one day at a time, go forward, knowing that God loves us both. Why am I going into a benediction right now? I don't know, but that's what I do. So,
love as you have been loved. And
may the Lord's face shine upon you. And no, I'm terrible at benedictions, as Ben knows. I'm awful at benedictions. So there you go.
One last word before we go.
So this is interesting. After we finished recording the main topic segment, I had to make my phone call in to find out about my jury duty. And we were so excited that I've been released from jury duty. We forgot to record an ending to the podcast. So please know that we appreciate you, loyal listeners. We love hearing from you. Feedback, centenary1911@gmail.com. We just really appreciate the fact that anybody's out there listening. And if we hear back from you, great. And if not, we're still glad that you're listening to the show. as of right now, as I'm recording this closing segment, we don't know who the president of the country is going to be in 2021, but I know who the God of this country is going to be. I know who the God of this planet is, and I know that we're in good hands, and I'm grateful for that. So God bless you, Centenary. Peace.